Hey, what's up? Like, totally time for 90210.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the 90210 show. My name is Mark. With me as always is my wife Carol. How you doing today, Carol?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. It's been a good week. It's March 10th, 2000.
It is.
It's so weird. Like, I know I say this all the time, but it's weird. 2000. It's just so blunt. Like you say, like 1999, 1997. It has a rhythm to it. 1990, but 2000. It's just blood. It's like bang, straight to the point.
Okay.
We're in a straight to the point era, Carol.
All right.
And let's get straight to the point and talk about I Will Be Your Father Figure.
That was a weird episode. Weird name for this episode.
Put your tiny hand in mine. I don't remember I don't know the other lyrics. I will be your creature feature.
Oh, dear Lord.
I don't know what the word. Anyway, so yeah, it is a weird title of the episode.
I mean, I guess it's just for Dylan.
I think part of it's for Steve too, though.
Oh,
being a father figure to his brother.
I didn't think of that, but that makes a lot of sense. You're very smart.
Actually, just occurred to me just now. His brother, played by Randy Spelling.
Is that who that is?
Yeah, Randy Spelling. It's Tori Spelling's brother.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
But it sounds like a made-up name.
Randy Spelling?
I'm Randy Spelling. Like, it sounds like a guy trying to get into a club that they're not letting him into.
And he's like,
I should be on the list. I'm a Spelling.
Right.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I'm Randy Spelling.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. Tori Spelling directed this episode, she got her little brother in on it. Why not?
I mean, he was on the show before.
Yeah.
As pointed out, he almost died of alcohol poisoning.
I'm looking at your hair. There's no bug behind you.
Okay.
You have a little tuft of hair that's sticking straight up,
Sorry.
and I'm just mesmerized. I apologize. I'll try to look at your eyes. I know how much it freaks you out when I look anywhere else. Eye contact now.
I know.
Give it.
It's
Give me the eye contact, Mark.
God. She's turning into a succubus, everyone. But yeah, so where do you want to start? Because we've got Steve and Steve's silly storyline with Randy, or I don't know what
Yeah, sure, let's start there.
I don't know what his brother's name is.
Oh, wow, yeah, I don't remember either. He's kind of like
We'll call him Randy.
nondescript and doesn't matter, so.
No, he really doesn't. He had a brother. He had another brother, remember?
Yeah, there were two of them.
But now there's only one.
What happened to the other one? Did he die?
I think he shot himself.
What? No, that was David's friend. David's friend shot himself.
I know. I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. But anyway, yeah, let's start there, I guess. So Steve's little brother is in town. You don't have to stare me down. We're not in it. Like
This is fun.
Like we're gonna start a boxing match or something like that. You can make normal amounts of eye contact and look away, but staring at a spot above my head is distracting. I don't think that's unreasonable.
I don't know. I don't know if I can. I think I have to stare at your eyes or I'm going to stare at your hair and it's going to freak you out.
Okay. Well, whatever you want, dealer's choice. Why don't you spend half the episode staring at my hair and half the episode staring at my eyes?
Sounds good.
You're like a fucking meerkat. You have to have a fixed point of line of sight. I don't know if that's a trait of meerkats or not.
Yeah, I don't know why. You'd love to say meerkat.
That's a fun word.
Like, you wouldn't believe. Like, I had a doctor once that he called Dr. Meerkat.
I did.
Not to their face.
That was so long ago. Oh my God. I totally forgot about Dr. Meerkat.
Because she had big eyes.
Yes.
I ran into one of her partners and I couldn't remember her name and I had to like stop myself from saying Dr. Meerkat.
Dr. Meerkat? Oh my God, that's hilarious. Anyway, so Steve's brother, Dr. Meerkat,
Yes.
is in town. And he comes, like, Janet's got all these things planned. She's like, I figured we'd go to the Getty Museum and we'd go to Griffith Park and we would, we'd take in tea at whatever. Like, she's got all these fancy things planned. And Randy, I'm just calling him Randy.
Sure.
Randy's like, I want to go to this bar and I want to go to that bar and I want to go to the Viper Room and I want to see the spot where River Phoenix died.
And she's like, wow, that's a lot of bars. I'm happy to stay home with the baby.
Right.
Which, like...
That's nice of her, actually.
It was very nice of her, because at first I kind of thought maybe she was mad, and she was, like, being sarcastic, like, I'm happy to stay home. But she meant it. Like, she just stayed home, took care of the baby, let him go out and have fun.
Yeah, because she was like, I don't want to go to bars.
Right.
I think that was the point, because I agreed. I thought she was mad at first, but I think it was supposed to convey, like, yeah, this doesn't sound like fun to me, but you guys go have fun.
Yeah. So they went bar hopping, and then apparently woke her up coming in at dawn.
Yeah.
And then fell asleep on top of each other.
Yeah, it was it's weird. I was trying to figure out the configuration of how they were sleeping on this couch.
Well, there was one head on each end of the couch, but it's like a normal size couch, and these are two normal sized dudes. So there's not room for them to not be on top of each other.
Yeah, the one younger brother had to have been laying on top of Steve.
Why? Why does he have to be on top?
Because he's smaller.
Is he?
Yeah. Could you imagine Steve Sanders' giant body pressing down on you, Carol?
No, I don't want to.
He'd be smiling the whole time, too, with that big Joker smile.
I mean, like, I've slept on a couch with, like, another girl when I was in high school, and we were both, like...
Tiny.
Yeah. But, yeah, two full-grown dudes. That's weird.
Yeah. So, Janet's not happy. She's like, hey, so glad you're having fun. But, when you were younger, like this guy is, because he's in college now. He's on vacation from college. It's like, when you were younger like him... you were a fuck up, right? And you would do all this stuff, like you're reliving your youth or whatever. And someone reined you in. She was like, it was Brandon Walsh. They love to invoke the names of the people who are no longer on the show. She's like, that was Brandon Walsh's job to rein you in. Yeah, great job he did, by the way.
Right.
With his academic probation and fucking like getting in trouble with the dean. And like he was in trouble so often.
He was. She's like, and now it's my job.
Yeah, my full-time job. She's like, but Randy needs someone to do that for him, and it's got to be you.
Which seems kind of shitty. Like, he's his brother. Just let him be his brother.
Yeah.
I mean, just because he's his older brother, whatever.
But he ends up... I mean, as they pointed out, he almost died of alcohol poisoning. So it's like, what the fuck? Like, he should be a little more protective of him.
Well, and then they go out to the Peach Pit after dark. Mm-hmm. And he meets some waitress.
Yeah.
And disappears.
He actually closes the deal. I'm shocked.
She was way out of his league.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he's not there in the morning, Steve's like freaking out. Should I call the police? Like, she's like, yeah, let's call the police and tell them that a college kid on spring break met a waitress and didn't come home until that night.
So he comes home and he's like, oh, hey, mom and dad, this is your whole life's about this kid, huh? And they're like, what are you talking about? And you should have called. You should have let us know that you were coming home late. And he's like, well, I was having sex with that waitress.
Well, and at one point when they're at the Peach Pit too, like Steve finds some baby spit up on Janet and some carrots in her hair or whatever. She looked cute.
Yeah.
She like looked nice for going out. Mm-hmm. And his little brother's an ass.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Steve was, mentioning it, and he's like, oh my God, is that your life now? Like...
Yeah, it's weird because Janet says he idolizes Steve, which I guess he kind of does. But he doesn't idolize Steve now. He idolizes Steve, like, in college.
Yeah. Yeah, he does not want Steve's life. Not at all.
So they start talking about school, and he clams up immediately. So you know what's coming.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, so when I was in high school, I was the brain and everything, and I hated that. And so I tried to be you in college. And let me tell you, Steve, you'd make a terrible doctor because I'm on academic probation.
Yeah. So I don't remember anything really.
He gives him a speech
coming from this.
He gives him the Brandon Walsh speech.
Sure.
They wrote a Brandon Walsh speech, and
they had no Brandon Walsh.
They
to
gave
give
it to Steve. So he gives him the old like, hey, you gotta buckle down, and being this way is dumb, kind of thing. And so he'll
having sex with hot waitresses is dumb.
He'll change his ways. I don't see why you can't have sex with hot waitresses and do well in school.
Right.
It doesn't take that long.
Okay.
You have time for studying,
I mean, I guess it depends on the waitress. It seemed like this one took all night. So.
I guess that's true. But yeah, that's their storyline. They have that little like thing.
Another thing that doesn't matter.
No, really, not really. The things that do matter are Dylan's storyline, which involves Kelly and Matt, and they have little character moments during this thing. But I think we can talk about all those things together. And then Donna and David and Camille.
And Noah.
Yeah. That's the other storyline.
So, for Dylan, let's talk about Dylan.
Yeah, let's talk about I will be your father figure.
So, he's obsessed with finding his dad.
Yeah.
And Kelly manages... Now, first she got him the passenger list.
Mm-hmm.
Now she, is... offering to help him in what were they interviewing the people at the airport that work there?
So, well, what happened is he's like, I'm trying to call these other passengers on the list to see if anybody knew this guy. And it's like, that is the stupidest plan. Like, you've flown before. I've flown before. If someone called you and was like, hey, do you know this guy that was on your plane? I'd be like, who the fuck is this?
Right.
Like, who just knows of the other people flying on planes with them?
Right.
It's really weird. But Kelly comes up with the idea of like, hey, if he took this plane a lot, maybe the flight crew would know him more.
Yeah.
Which makes some more sense.
So they get dressed up in business suits. Now, of course, Matt and Kelly have nothing better to do because neither of them are working.
Yeah.
And Dylan's, rich, so he doesn't work. So that's all the three of them have to do. They should all just have sex because I feel like that's where this is going. I don't know. I mean, there's some weirdness here in this relationship.
There definitely is. Matt's trying to be a nice guy or whatever.
Matt's going to lose her because he's being too nice of a guy.
I agree. But there's a lot of that going on in this episode.
Yeah.
But so they all go there, and Dylan's the one that breaks through. He's dressed, like you said, in like this weird red suit. And he's like, I work at something distinct from Avis, because Avis uses the red stuff.
Okay.
He's like, it's different than Avis, but it's a car place. And I need to speak with Mr. Waitkus from the book The Natural. And the stewardess is like, oh, he wasn't on this flight, sorry.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, do you know which flight he was on or some shit like that?
He says, do you have a phone number for him?
Yeah, that was it.
And she's like, I can't give out that information. And he's like, okay, well, I guess I'm out of a job. And he gives his like
puppy dog
biggest hangdog look, which, it's Dylan, so like that would probably work on some women, I'm sure.
I guess. I mean, I still think that it's ridiculous and nobody would fall for it, but I guess maybe somebody who gets wet by the look of Luke Perry, maybe it was like, sure.
And she was like, this is the information she gives him. Okay, well, don't tell anyone I told you this, but I've heard him mention that he lives in Taos or something like that, outside of Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's like...
So he can go to the fucking white pages in Taos or Tucson or whatever and find his address.
I know, but it's like, first of all, it doesn't jibe with his story. His story was that they needed to arrange something for this guy, and it there was a hiccup or whatever, and so he needed to talk to him. But the car rental guy's not going to fly to fucking Arizona to talk to him.
Yeah.
So it's like, phone number is really what he needed. It's like that information only is helpful if she knows he's his son looking for him.
True.
But anyway, so they do end up going there, and then Kelly poses as his wife.
Not Dylan's wife.
No, as Eddie Waitkiss's
wife.
And goes to the cable company and tries to get a copy of their cable bill, which she gets.
So
which
that's
has an address.
I guess that's another way to go. I still think the white pages would have been easier.
Yeah, would he be listed as how did he get this identity of Eddie Waitkiss?
That's a good question. I mean, he picked the name, so he must have paid to have the documents created to support it.
I guess so.
But so they find his house, and Matt comes up with an excuse to stay back in the hotel.
Yeah, some new client or something.
But that's not even true. He just makes that up. Kelly tells Dylan, he just didn't want to come. He didn't want to be, in the way. What? He's her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Or fiance, actually.
Yeah.
And he's saying, go hang out with your ex, honey. I'll stay here. I don't want to, be a bother or a third wheel on your dates.
Right.
What is going on, Matt? Do you not want her anymore?
Matt was I think maybe you'd be able to see better if you sit on his lap.
Right? I mean, it's weird. He's too trusting.
The whole thing is weird, I agree.
Last time they traveled together, they had sex. Does he know that?
Yes. That came out.
So, come on, dude.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And he forgave her.
Well, he went a little too far in his forgiveness.
Yeah, I agree. There's such a thing. You can definitely be too jealous. There's such a thing as too trusting.
Sure, for sure. And he is that.
This is too trusting.
So they're staking out this house, and she's like, we've been sitting here for hours. So, bonding time. Anyway.
Right.
He finally pulls up in the driveway, and his wife and child come to greet him.
Yeah. Married with a little kid. A kid just old enough for him to have, sired him almost immediately after dying.
Right? So, Dylan's very upset. He is done.
Understandably, because, this guy disappeared, left Dylan in the dark, and started a new family. I would feel this kid's good enough to have a dad and I'm not, I agree. But I do, and I wonder if this is going to come out in the next episode. No one's ever asked the question, except for me just now. I'm sure other people have, but no one in the show has asked the question, why is he flying to L.A.? He's on this commuter plane and everything, right? And, it's not the first time he's come to L.A.
Yeah, the flight people knew him.
So, why? What is he doing in L.A.? The place where he ran away from, presumably because people were out for him or whatever, the mob guys. Although Marchetti or whatever, the top mob guy that was supposed to be after him, whatever, is dead.
Yeah, Dylan's father-in-law.
And has been dead for a while. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if, spoilers, obviously, everybody, because, maybe, should I wait till we get there?
Wait, just continue forward. We'll get there real fast.
I was just going to say maybe he's coming there because he wants to see Dylan. And, he comes there and, maybe, watches Dylan or something like that, and then fucking, doesn't have the balls to say anything to him, so he flies back?
I don't think so.
All right.
I think that it is work-related. And maybe...
What kind of work does he do, you think?
He's probably a salesman or some shit.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the fact that Marchetti's dead, freed him up to come back.
Marchetti's dead. The final nightmare.
But so Dylan sends Kelly packing, even though Matt says, I'm going back to Beverly Hills for work. You can stay here together.
Yeah. Alone in a hotel room. Fuck?
Now, Dylan is like, no, Kelly, you got a plane to catch, you go. He didn't want her to stay. But he didn't want her to stay because he wasn't staying.
Yeah.
And I think he really is trying to put distance between them. She's just really not letting that happen.
Yeah, I agree. But he goes back to the house, and he sees his dad reading a newspaper in an easy chair. Kid's asleep. The wife's in the other room. And he just stands there like a stalker. It looks
staring into his house.
It looks like a Peter Gabriel music video.
Right?
And he's just he's just staring at this guy. And you mentioned it, and I kept expecting his eyes to flick up Be like, someone's fucking staring at me.
Right, because you can feel that shit.
But he doesn't, and we just cut to black, and it turns out Dylan did not talk to him.
Yeah, Dylan just leaves. So at the end of
Dylan's all upset, sad in his hotel room and stuff.
At the end of the episode, though, you called it. There was a knock at the door, and it's his dad.
Yeah.
So he came to talk to him. So he knew he was there.
Yeah. Now that's my question. Does he know he did? Did he know he was there, or was he coming to LA to talk to him and just didn't have the guts to do it till now?
I think he knew, but I guess we'll find out more next episode because that's how this episode ends. We don't really know what happens after he answers the door and there's his dad.
Agreed. That is what happens.
And he could have banged Kelly, but didn't.
Yeah.
I 100% think he could bang Kelly if he wanted to.
Dylan's dad?
No, Dylan. No, I mean, don't you think if like Matt left?
Yeah.
And he wasn't like, oh, Kelly, you leave. He'd been like, hey, yeah, stay in this hotel room with me. Like last time they traveled together.
Oh,
they'd 100% have sex.
Yeah.
She wouldn't stop that shit.
No.
She wants him.
If Dylan wanted to, they 100% would,
Yeah. She wants to not be with Matt anymore, I think.
Well, we'll see what happens.
So the other weird unrequited love situation we got going.
They're very similar. They're similar stories, really.
Yeah. So Donna is in the middle of a love triangle. 2 love triangles.
Yeah. She's in the middle of a love pentagon.
Because she is dealing with Noah, who fucking kisses her. Like, she's taking care of him, trying to, like, nurse him back to health because, like, the episode started when he's in the hospital after he fell through the window.
Yeah, because he got injured because Matt hit him with a baseball bat.
He, like, bruised his ribs or broke his ribs or something.
Yeah, he broke one of his ribs and he has a concussion. But he'll be fine.
And she's just like, oh, well, he's going to be staying with us.
Mm-hmm. Which Kelly does not like.
No.
And David keeps saying, like, hey, you know, like, you need to fucking give this guy space. Mm-hmm. Like, it needs to, you're too close to him and you're coddling him and everything. And, like, he's trying to get close to you and it's not good. I mean, it already fucking torpedoed one of her relationship.
Yeah.
With Dimples.
That's true. I forgot about that, but yeah.
So, yeah, she's, like, kind of nursing him or whatever. And he's like, oh, I've had a lot of regrets about this, especially the way stuff ended.
And then he fucking kissed her.
Yeah. And she kisses him back for like a brief second. And then she's like, no, you know, we can't do this or whatever. Like, we need to get over each other kind of thing. So
she sends him packing, which is good. I hope he leaves her alone now.
Yeah.
I think he's going to.
They only have one other scene in the episode, and that's at the Peach Pit later, which is short.
Yeah, I mean, like, she's encouraging him to go back to AA, and now he's working as a bartender again, and she's really like, you sure you should be doing this shit?
But the other part of the story has to do with David and Camille. David and Camille and Donna.
Yeah, because that's another love triangle. Mm-hmm. Because Camille, like, as she points out, Donna's taking care of Noah.
Yep.
David's taking care of Donna.
Yeah. No one's sexually taking care of Camille.
Nobody's taking care of poor Camille.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, Donna keeps calling him. She calls him when she's watching, like, old horror movies at night. Like, that's a thing that they share.
Yeah, which is a weird thing that we haven't talked about till now, but...
Well, you know, I'm okay with it, because every relationship has its, like, little inside things that, you know, it's not really an exciting thing that they'd put on screen, but it belongs there, I think.
Yeah.
But she's lonely, and she reaches out to him all the time whenever she has a single thought she feels like sharing with him, and she's like, oh, you're my best friend, you're my best friend. He's your ex-boyfriend, though.
Yeah.
He can't be your best friend.
Yeah, she's like, oh, guess what's on? What the fuck did she say first? Oh, Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
She's like, Sleepaway Camp's on, and he's like, oh, cool, you know. And he hangs up the phone and he's like, yeah, every time there's a good horror movie on, we call each other, right? And she's like, oh, fun.
Camille, yeah.
And So then Donna calls back and she's like, oh, I was wrong. It's not Sleepaway Camp. It's Slumber Party Massacre.
Right.
Even better. And he's like, oh, okay. And he says to Camille, we got to find the remote.
And she's like, yeah.
So they can turn this on.
Grace.
Sleepaway Camp's the one that's Friday the 13th, but it's a hot girl, right?
I have no idea what either one of these movies are.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Mm.
I think Slumber Party Massacre is very different, but
They both sound like they could easily be pornos.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know that I've seen Slumber Party Massacre, but I'm pretty sure Slumber Party Massacre basically is. I mean, not like really a porno, but it's like there's a lot of nudity in it.
A lot of women running around in teddies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp, I'm almost positive is the one that's like, it's filmed almost exactly like Friday the 13th, the first one, from like, killer point of view and everything, but it turns out it's like a hot girl is the one that's killing everyone. So it's like the one you think is going to be like the final girl or whatever. That's the twist, or whatever. But she's actually the killer.
Well, way to ruin it for me.
Oh,
Maybe we could have watched it.
Sorry.
Darn.
I'm sorry for spoiling a
30-year-old movie?
15-year-old movie. 30-year-old. This movie wasn't made in the 70s. Yeah, it predates Friday
Texas
the 13th.
Chainsaw Massacre.
No, yeah, like a 15-year-old film.
Okay.
Anyway. So Camille is like, she's definitely not loving this dynamic. And they're going out to dinner, and she's like, oh, I thought that you were going to cook me dinner. And he's like, yeah, I lied. He's like, I wanted to get you dinner because I want to save my energy for the sexual performance that I'm going to put on later or whatever. And she's like, oh, cool. Hey, so you and Donna...
Yeah, there really is no good segue there.
Yeah, she's like, it's interesting how often she talks to you and stuff like that. Don't you think that's fun?
Well, she also mentions that she feels like she's stolen her life.
Yes.
Because she's working in her store and she stole her boyfriend. And he's like, ex-boyfriend.
Right.
But, like, they don't...
for a long time.
Yes, but they don't act like exes. They act like they're one step away from, and I believe it's the case, fucking.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So.
But yeah, so she's like, I'm concerned about this, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, he's like, I'm glad you said something that makes sense. And she's like, I just think there should be boundaries. And he's like, all right.
And then the phone rings.
Yeah, it's Donna.
It's Donna. He does not answer.
Because she's gone through this thing with Noah where he's kissed her and everything, and she wants to talk to David about it. So he doesn't answer her. And then the next day, he sees her at the After Dark. He sees her at Now Wear This. And she's like, hey, what's up? You didn't call me back or whatever. And he's like, oh, sorry, I was out with Camille or whatever. And she's like, you're not, like, you should be sorry that you didn't call me back or whatever. And he's like, okay. She's like, Noah kissed me and everything. And he's like, oh, I told you so.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, so we got to talk about boundaries. And she's like, oh, am I calling you too much? And he's like, well, like, it's just that, it's bothering Camille. Like, it's very clear, like, he doesn't mind it at all. Mm-hmm. But it bothers Camille, so he's got to say something about it.
Which, of course it doesn't bother him because, he likes the attention from Nana.
Well, yeah, I think all guys like when people like them.
Sure.
But yeah, there's a difference between, we kind of talked about it when we were watching the episode. There's a difference between finding someone attractive or whatever, just like in life, and starting to get like emotionally involved and invested with somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the line, That's why I think it's really difficult to be friends with exes because... especially if you're with somebody else, because that line is like already blurred. It's really hard to draw a definitive line when you've already slept with somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're in a relationship, you meet somebody or whatever, even if they're attractive, but you just want to be friends with them and you have no other, if you have no other background with them, I think it's easier. Now, keep in mind, guys, doesn't doesn't mean it's still not fraught with potential pitfalls. So proceed at your own peril.
Right.
But I think it's easier in that situation to draw a definitive line of like, this is something we don't cross. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But if you've already been in a relationship with that person, I think it's really difficult to have that kind of a line.
Yeah, so David tells her, just not so many late night phone calls, basically.
Right.
Not that you can't call.
Yeah.
So then they run into each other at the Peach Pit later that same night.
Yeah,
before they run into each other.
Well, what? I'm forgetting something then.
He talks about when he's ending his radio show.
Oh, yeah, because he's doing his radio show. She comes into the Peach Pit to talk to Noah, as you pointed out earlier, to just kind of be like, hey, is this hard for you? Are you like tempted to drink or whatever? She still wants to, make sure he's okay, even though she doesn't want to be with him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, David's doing his radio program, and he's like, tomorrow our topic will be, and he starts pawing through papers like, first of all, can it be that hard to find? And second of all, you don't remember what your topic's supposed to be tomorrow? And he sees Donna, and he's like, I guess he's inspired or whatever, and he's like, what does he say? People in relationship rules, and like he said, starting from how soon or how long is too long to wait to call, I think he says, or something like that, like after a first date or after a meeting, like
going from there, from the beginning stuff,
like how soon to call, to being in love or loving someone that's not yours anymore, that's named Donna, who's right in front of me. I mean, basically, he might as well have been saying that.
Right.
And he's like, so we'll talk about all that tomorrow.
Loving someone you're no longer with when someone else is now in the picture.
Oh, yeah. And adding somebody new to the picture or something like that, yeah.
So, I mean, that's very specific.
Yes.
And when he said that, I was like, is Camille there?
Right.
And
which she's not.
No. And so then he goes up and talks to Donna, and you can tell she heard. She looks all smiley. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, let's go get something to eat next door. And she's like, what about boundaries?
And he's like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine.
So then he calls Camille,
who is in bed in a sexy little like nightgown,
waiting for him.
Yeah, reading a book, reading the Kama Sutra.
And he's like, hey, I'm on my way, but I'm going to stop and get something to eat at the Peach Pit
with Donna.
Like, he says it in little segments. Like, you can tell he's not sure he's even going to tell her, I think.
Yeah, he does.
But he does say with Donna. And she's like, oh, okay.
She's like, you know what? I'm tired anyway, so I'm just going to go to bed. And then you just hear...
She's like, yeah, because I don't want to just be waiting up for you or something. Like, you can tell she's upset.
Oh, yeah. Rightfully so.
I would be furious.
And Donna's like, because she says, too, I heard the end of your show. Mm-hmm. I always like to hear you sign off when I know you're going to be coming over.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like, none of it's good.
No. So then, he hangs up and Donna's like, everything okay? He's like, oh, yeah, it's fine.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, it's fine because he's going to be putting his penis in you soon.
Right.
That's what's going to make it fine, Donna.
Yeah, he definitely is done with Camille, I think.
Which, like, not fair. Like, she's a nice, pretty lady. There's no reason why, like, I mean, I guess it's just because he's in love with Donna. I mean, flat out.
Yeah. I mean, it's because it's what the writers want. The writers want them together.
Well, I want them together, too.
I've been going back and forth on whether or not they think they're going to do this, but I think everything is set up for them to do this.
Just like I think Kelly and Dylan will end up together, too.
I think that's less of a possibility. I'm almost 100% sure that that Donna and David are going to get together. I am probably, 85% sure that Dylan and Kelly are going to get together.
If they don't, if they have her stay with Matt, like, I'm going to be angry because I think her relationship with Matt is shit.
Yeah, I agree. And Matt's a nice guy or whatever, but he's just so nondescript.
He really is.
Whatever. He's just a whatever guy.
Agreed.
But yeah, that's the episode. What did you think of the episode?
I actually enjoyed this episode. I like the will they, won't they they've got going on with Donna and David and Kelly and Dylan.
Even though I don't love Tori Spelling's acting necessarily, the David and Donna storyline is the one that I care about the most. Mm-hmm. It's the one that harkens most back to the beginning of the show. It's the one that I like their chemistry together too. The two actors on screen, I think they work really well off of each other, and it's the one that feels most realistic, I guess. Less like a overblown soap opera plot. Like Dylan's thing with his dad and everything. My dad was a fucking millionaire criminal, and then was betrayed by the mob, and then faked his own death and has a new... Like, that's all so soap opera-y, and a lot of Dylan's storylines are. Like, when his money was stolen, and he had to go on an adventure with Jonesy and all that shit. Like,
right?
Like, that's... Like, so much of his shit is, like, over the top.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this storyline feels the most realistic to me, and I like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is the episode for the week. Carol, tell people where they can find their own... secretly deceased father.
You can write us at latefee1994@AOL.com.
Mm-hmm.
Check out our website at www.retrolatefee.com.
Yep.
And share the tapes with your friends.
All right, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.